Downtown, you're the law. Out here, it's me. Don't push it, or I'll give you a war you won't believe. Oh man, John Rambo in the house. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to our channel. I'm going to do my best to make this video as short as I can. I am, by nature, a pretty optimistic person. And even though, some of the things that I do aren't very serious, I watch and I listen. And there are some things that are very concerning that's happening in the world today that I think that a lot of people really aren't paying attention to. Yeah, we have the border crisis. We have a bank failure that is at our doorstep that's going to happen. All kinds of things going on in the world, but there's a few things I want to talk about that I haven't really heard anybody talk about. So hopefully I can get this out, you know, um, without confusing anybody. I want to keep this straight. I want to keep it simple, and there's going to be some numbers involved. So I did a little study. I got on the internet. I looked up some things. Hopefully they're factual. We know how the internet is. People could change it, things like that. So I'm just going to read what I have printed out, and hopefully um, that translates to you. So, first thing I want to talk about is our law enforcement, because we have a big issue going on with our law enforcement. And we've already heard about what's happening in Pittsburgh. We heard about Louisiana state of emergency because the lack of officers. And it looks like all these, there's even different cities that this is happening to. So it's like a domino effect that's going on. So there is a shortage of police officers. And I'm going to read this. And it says, at the heart of the problem is the exodus from law enforcement. Officer resignations were up 47% last year, compounding the exodus of veteran officers. Young people are increasingly unwilling to go through months of training necessary to become a police officer. Fewer people are applying to be police officers, and more officers are retiring or resigning at a tremendous rate. There is a shortage of police officers across the country. 2/3 of law enforcement professionals have stated that police recruitment and retention is the largest issue facing law enforcement. The amount of police officers in service has decreased while the population has increased. That's pretty scary. And when it comes to numbers, supposedly, according to what I've read on the internet, in the United States alone, there are 2 cops per 1,000 people. 2 cops per 1,000 people. And so we have police officers retiring, not just retiring, but retiring early or resigning because the pressure load is too weak. We have an influx of millions of people crossing our border illegally, and the police officers are basically treated like second-class citizens when they try to uphold the law that they swore to uphold. And that's really sad. So as the population grows, and law enforcement decreases, what if one day we're down to one police officer per 1,000 people? That's a bad day. It's going to be bad for everybody. And when it says here that fewer people are applying to be police officers, obviously that's a given because we live in an age where people really don't want to work. So we're going through this phase. I don't even know if it's a phase. I think it's on purpose, but we have a lot of millennials and Gen Zers that, not all of them, but a high percentage of them do not want to get into any of the workforce, whether it be police officers and whatnot. So one of the biggest shortages we do have is in our law enforcement. And hopefully that can be rectified, but I doubt it very seriously because it seems like a big snowball effect that's happening. So, along with our police officers, there are an issue with correction officers. So, with correction officers, there are according to the internet, there are 380,000 correction officers in the United States. And our prison population is 1,230,000. So that's the prison population. You could do the math on that. I didn't want to. My head just can't comprehend what's going on with this shortage. And on top of that, when it comes to police officers and corrections officers, they can't do their job. They're told to stand down, and it's not a rewarding job like it used to be. And plus, also, judges are just our judge system. I can't talk, but anyway, our judges are repressing good and rewarding evil. And that's mind blowing because we're seeing it happen. I just read the other day that a federal judge in Illinois says the Constitution protects the gun rights of non citizens who enter the U.S. illegally. All right, so that's the key word right there, illegally. So they're already illegal. If you're illegal, what kind of rights do you have to possess a firearm? So illegal non-citizens have the Second Amendment, a right to carry a firearm, but our government is making it evil for those who do it lawfully. They want to take our rights away to carry a weapon. Man. And the thing is like that old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But the government broke it. And they're preventing us from fixing it. They broke it on purpose. And now we're trying to fix it, and they're preventing us. So another issue is the military. I guess the military is at an all-time low for recruitment also. They're doing whatever they can to get people in. I heard there's parts of the military that are saying you don't need a GED or high school diploma to join the military anymore because recruitment is so bad. They're just, hey, come on down, you know. And so the population of our military is dwindling also. I don't know if you know who Lieutenant Colonel Bree Fram. Now, Lieutenant Colonel Bree Fram is one of the highest ranking officers in the United States. Now, if you don't know who Lieutenant Colonel Bree Fram is, he came out in 2016 as a transgender. So he is a she now. One of the highest ranking officers in the United States military is a transgender. So think about that and where that's heading in our military. So now let's talk about the healthcare system that we have in the United States. I'm going to go ahead and read this. All these stats I got off the internet, so I'm not saying that they're in stone, but this is what the internet says. Now, concerning healthcare, now this is doctors, receptionists, medical coders, medical billers, surgeons, on and on. It says here, even before the Rona-19 pandemic, there was a pronounced shortage of healthcare workers. Stress levels contributed to the original mental health worker shortage, which was compounded by budget cuts and turnover due to inadequate pay and benefits, as well as retiring professionals. Other healthcare employees were already experiencing problematic levels of burnout. Systematic burnout rose 9% between 2011 and 2014. By 2019, it was up to 54% of doctors and nurses reported symptoms of this. Every year, 39% of physicians report depression, and roughly 400 die by suicide. So that is pretty scary. So 2019, it was up 54%. We're in 2024. What's that percentage now? I tried to look it up. I couldn't find it. It's got to be higher than that. And on top of that, it says that roughly 400 physicians die by suicide. 400 a year. 400 a year. 4, 8, 12, 6. You know, that's a lot of doctors committing suicide every year, which brings down the percentage of doctors we have working. Needless to say, the healthcare workers shortage will be negatively impact the level of care that Americans receive for years to come. Industry labor experts project a deficit of over 3 million low-wage medical employees and up to 140,000 doctors by the year 2027, with the worst shortages occurring in primary care. So basically what this article is saying, just like I read, so by 2027, there's going to be a deficit of over 3 million low-wage medical employees. So that means your receptionists, your medical billers, your medical coders, things like that. So that's going to be 3 million deficit. and 140,000 doctors. There's going to be a deficit of 140,000 doctors by 2027. Now, it says here that there are 1 million doctors in the United States at this time. So if there's 1 million doctors right now, and there's going to be a deficit of 140,000 doctors in the next 3 years, you do the math. It blows my mind. So there's 1 million doctors in the US. The work now this is just surgeons alone. Now I'm going to talk about surgeons. I'm not talking about, dentists or pediatric care or anything like that. Let's talk about surgeons. Really important also. The workforce of surgeons in 2023, was 54,740 surgeons. 17.5% were women, 82.5% were men. So there's a total of 54,740 surgeons in the United States. 34,000 of that 54,000 surgeons are currently board certified by the ABS. So, and that includes general surgery, vascular surgery, pediatric surgery, surgical critical care, complex surgical oncology. I didn't know that there was only 54,000 surgeons in the United States. That seems pretty low. And it says here, the average of male surgeons in the workforce is 49 years old. And female surgeons, the average age is 43. So that's the average age of these surgeons. And guess what? They're getting ready to retire. They're going to retire by the thousands. And who's going to take their place? How many people do we know that are millennials and Gen Zers are going to medical school, are joining the police force, joining the military, wanting to become nurses instead of influencers? See how many, instead of a career, they'd rather see how many hits and likes that they get on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. That's their life goal, is to reach that 1 million likes instead of helping people. Anyway, so this is just the healthcare. This is surgeons, nurses, medical coders, things like that. I'm not even going to get into dentists or teachers, especially so you have your dentists. How many of those are going to retire? You have your teachers. How many of those are going to be retiring? How many people are going to take their place? Now, I'm not speaking bad against, millennials and Gen Zers. There's some of them out there that are joining the workforce, that are learning something, be it a doctor or a teacher or a nurse. But actually, how many of them are doing it? So let's just say 1 out of every 1,000 millennial or Gen Zers are going to medical school. 1 out of every 1,000 are going to medical school. And then you got 1,000 doctors and nurses retiring every year, hypothetically. But you only have 1 young person per 1,000 replacing those retired doctors and nurses. and teachers and dentists and so on. That doesn't make up for anything. And that's pretty scary. So, take care of yourself, because things are going to get bad with the healthcare system too. And I mean, we live in the United States of America. And if you go to the emergency room, lots of luck, because guess what? You better bring a sack lunch, because you're going to spend the whole day in the emergency room. It's going to be a day trip. We live in it's almost like a third world country. We go to the hospital, you're going to be there all day. And it's not because they don't want to take care of you, it's because the workload is just unbelievable. So, but even with the healthcare, we have trade workers. Think about that. People that learn trades, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, etc. How many of these young people are going to trade schools to learn plumbing and carpentry and things like that? What's going to happen when all the plumbers and electricians and the carpenters, and they're too old to do what they do anymore, and they just retire? Who's going to come fix your sink or your toilet? Who's going to come and you want to have a house built? Is there going to be anybody there to build a house anymore? So basically, the workforce as a whole is diminishing, and it's something I'm having a hard time comprehending, because we don't. It seems like we all have these blinders on, and we're just like, okay, I'm just going to see what I want to see, and the whole world is falling apart around us, and we're being distracted. The border, the war in Ukraine, the war in Israel. We got the Houthis. Right? They keep talking about these wars, and it's kind of weird, because I remember, I think it was in 2003, maybe, during the Iraq war. Remember that time when they had that war on TV every day? You were seeing bombings, you were seeing jet fighters, you were seeing buildings blown up. Yet we're not seeing that today. What's going on in Ukraine? We don't. Maybe once in a blue moon they'll show a reporter out there standing behind a building with no windows, but there's nobody around. I have no idea. We have no. We hear news stories of what's going on over there in the war, but we have no footage of it, really. Maybe in the background they show Gaza from Israel, and just a smoke plume. Okay, where's the war? Where's all the firing of weapons and bombs being dropped, like we saw in 2003 during the Iraq War? I don't know. Anyway, that's just me. I'm getting off track. But anyway, so we're being distracted with this while America is falling apart. America has fallen apart. Our workforce has diminished. And another part of that is AI. When AI starts taking over, AI starts taking over, it'll take over the healthcare industry. It'll take over a lot of things that have to do with numbers and computers and things like that. My wife is a medical coder. Once AI gets to tip-top shape, wherever they want it to be, AI will just do all the medical coding. My wife will be out of a job. So it's almost by design. Our government doesn't want us to work, which is scary. And when our government's first duty is to protect the people and not run their lives or ruin their lives. The government's first duty is to protect us, not ruin us. But as we see now on both sides, Democrat and Republican, they are ruining our lives. We are not protected anymore. This country has been invaded. It is an act of war. And we are told, just sit down and chill, do your TikTok videos, watch your movies. As much as I love movies, watch your movies. Don't look over there. There's nothing here to see. And we think things are normal, and they're not normal. Obey. It's like from that movie with Rodney Piper. They Live. And you put on the sunglasses, and then he sees all these billboards and newspapers that say, obey, conform, listen. We're living in that time now, but it's right in our face. They're not even hiding it anymore. It's right in our face. And we're not doing anything. We're not doing it. We keep talking about it. All over YouTube, we talking about bank failures, talking about the border, talking about the murders, talking about this shortage of food, shortage of workforce, shortage of water, shortage of energy, shortage of this, everything's short. But we're not doing anything about it. We talk about it. It's like that saying, don't talk about it, be about it. What are we going to do? Are we just going to sit here and twiddle our thumbs and think, oh, yeah, everything's going to work out. The government's going to take care of everything. And if the government doesn't take care of everything, then I'm just going to sit here in this little corner of mine and I'll be ready for whatever. But you're not doing anything. And that even goes for the church. Come on, man. The church should be the most powerful force in the world, and it's not. And I don't even want to get into that right now because I'm that's a whole nother hour video if you want to start talking about the church and what the church isn't doing. Anyway, so I want to cut this short, but I am going to read a scripture. So what I'm going to do is read out of the book of James, chapter 3. This is pretty powerful because this is now. 2 Timothy, I'm sorry, not James. 2 Timothy chapter 3. Know this, in the last days, perilous times will come. Men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, and unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, slanderers, unrestrained, fierce, despisers of those who are good, traitors, reckless, conceited, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness. There you go, church. Just saying. Having a form of godliness, but denying its power. Turn away from such people. This is amazing. These are the last days. Lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, disobedient to parents, without natural affection, having a form of godliness, but denying its power. Oh, yeah, I believe in God. Yeah, I love God. I go to church every Sunday. I sit there for 2 hours while the preacher tells me that Jesus loves me and I'm okay, you're okay. Oh, yeah, and don't say any bad things against the government because that's not godly. Okay, anyway, I'm not going to go there. So I'm going to end this. It's been long. I appreciate you guys listening. I just had to say something because things are really bad, and I don't think people are comprehending exactly what's going on behind the scenes and how fast it's falling apart. March is the beginning of woes for 2024. So it's already started. And so be on guard, like I say, get your mind right, get your grind right because things aren't the way they used to be. We live in a different world now. So we're going to have to figure out where where do we belong in this world and what are we going to do? Are we going to stand? Are we going to stand up? Or are we going to stand back? All we have, the only power, I won't say the only power, I say one of the most powerful things we have is our voice. We need to speak up. We need to say something. If we don't say anything, evil prevails. And these are evil times. The Bible also says it'll be just like in the days of Noah. There were some really, really evil things going on in the earth in the days of Noah. It doesn't get specific about it, but it says the last days will be like the days of Noah. It was so bad in the days of Noah, God had to flood the earth. And Noah had to prepare for that day. It took years and years and years, but people made fun of Noah. People make fun of people who prep for the worst. But we hope for the best. But guess what? We're going to be ready. Noah was ready when it happened. He was protected. We have to protect ourselves through God and His warnings. This right here, this Bible, this is not just the Word of God. This is not just words of wisdom. This is also the best prepping book you can ever read. The Bible is also a prepping book. God's given us the warnings. God's saying, get ready, prepare yourself. That's why I say, be your own bank. Banks are going to fail. Be your own store. Prices are going to go sky high. You're not going to be able to buy what you used to buy. Be your own pharmacy. Because one day, those pharmacies aren't going to have what you need anymore. So start stacking up on those. So just little things like that, day by day, you're building that up. So when the crap does hit the fan, you're prepared. You're not taken by surprise like a lot of people are going to be. So anyway, thank you for listening. Please give a thumbs up, like, please subscribe. Please share this. Give a comment below. And peace out.